Hi, thanks for visiting Bible Mountain. This is the first lesson in a series of lessons in the book of Obadiah. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about why Obadiah is in the Bible, and I'm going to divide that into two questions. The first question is, why was Obadiah written? In other words, at some point in time, a man sat down and wrote this book that we call Obadiah. Why? What was the author of Obadiah trying to communicate, and why was he communicating it? The second part of this question is, why was Obadiah included in the Bible? Obadiah is in the Bible because it was inspired by the Holy Spirit, but why did the Holy Spirit inspire the writing of Obadiah? What does the Holy Spirit want you and I to learn from this book that we call Obadiah? What I'm going to do in this lesson is read the book of Obadiah. It's short, so that won't take long. And then I'll talk about these two questions. Why was it written, and why was it included in the Bible? Before I start reading, let me make a comment about Hebrew poetry. Obadiah is poetry. Hebrew poetry is a little different than English poetry. English poetry is all about rhyme. Hebrew poetry is all about repetition. Hebrew poetry is about saying the same thing over and over again, just saying it in different ways. As part of that, sometimes a Hebrew poet will make a statement and then keep repeating that statement but add something to it, and then sometimes a Hebrew poet will make a statement and then say the opposite to create a contrast. So I mention all this to say that Obadiah is poetry, and so as we read through this, you're going to notice a lot of repetition. So let's read through the book of Obadiah. Obadiah 1:1. A vision of Obadiah. Thus said Yahweh my Lord to Edom. We heard a report from Yahweh, and an envoy was sent among the nations. Arise, and let us stand against her for war. Behold, I made you small among the nations. You were very despised. The pride of your heart deceived you, the one dwelling in the clefts of the rock, saying in his heart in the height of his seat, who can send me down to the earth? Even if you are soaring as high as an eagle, and even if your nest is placed among the stars, from there I will send you down, declares Yahweh. If thieves came to you, those devastating at night, how would you be ruined? Would they not steal only enough for them? If gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleanings? How will Esau be searched? His hidden treasures will be grazed bare. All the men who signed your agreement will send you as far as the border. The men at peace with you will deceive you and have power over you. They will set an ambush against you for your food. There is no understanding in him. Will I not on that day, declares Yahweh, destroy wisdom from Edom and understanding from Esau? Then your mighty ones will be dismayed, Teman, in order that each man will be cut off from the mountain of Esau by slaughter. So what we see in these verses that we've read so far is that Obadiah was written as a declaration of punishment upon Edom. Now let's continue reading at verse 10. Because of violence to your brother Jacob, shame smothers you, and you will be cut off forever. In the day you stood far off, and in the day strangers captured his wealth and foreigners came to his gate, and cast lots over Jerusalem, you also were as one of them. Do not gaze in your brother's day at the day of his misfortune, and do not rejoice over the sons of Judah in the day of their destruction. Do not let your mouth boast in the day of distress. Do not enter the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Also, you, do not gaze at his misfortune in the day of his calamity. Do not take away his wealth in the day of his calamity. Do not stand over the crossroads to cut off his fugitives, and do not capture his survivors in the day of distress. What we see in those verses is the reason that Edom was going to be punished. There was a time when people came in and they oppressed the Israelites in the tribe of Judah. They exiled them. They plundered them. And Edom stood back and did not help the Israelites, and then furthermore, Edom helped to plunder the Israelites in the tribe of Judah, and for that they were going to be punished. Verse 15. Because the day of Yahweh is close to being upon all of the nations. Just as you did, it will be done to you. Your actions will be returned upon your head. Because just as you drank on my holy mountain, all of the nations are drinking continually. Then they will drink, swallow, and be as if they never were. A remnant will be on the mountain of Zion. Then it will be holy, and the house of Jacob will possess their possessions. The house of Jacob will be a fire, the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau will become stubble. They will burn them and eat them, and a survivor will not exist in the house of Esau because Yahweh declared it. Then the Negev will possess the mountain of Esau, and the Shephelah will possess the Philistines. They will possess the field of Ephraim and the field of Samaria, and Benjamin will possess Gilead. The captives of this district of the sons of Israel, who are among the Canaanites as far as Zarephath, and the captives of Jerusalem who are in Sepharad, will possess the cities of the Negev. Then saviors will go up to the mountain of Zion to judge the mountain of Esau, and the kingdom will belong to Yahweh. So that is the book of Obadiah. What we see in those ending verses is that Obadiah made some predictions about the future. So let's address this question, why was Obadiah written? Obadiah was written to declare punishment upon Edom. The reason for the punishment was because Edom did not help the Israelites when they were being plundered, and furthermore, Edom helped to plunder the Israelites. And for that, they were going to be punished, and then Obadiah ended by making some predictions about the future. Now let's address the question of why Obadiah is in the Bible. The Holy Spirit inspired it, and so it's in the Bible, but why did the Holy Spirit inspire this? What does the Holy Spirit want us to learn from this? And the answer to this is actually found in the New Testament. This is 1 Corinthians 10, verse 11. Now these things happened to them as an example, and they were written for our instruction, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Paul wrote this, and he was referring to events that are recorded in the Old Testament. And so what Paul said was that the events in the Old Testament are examples for us, and they were written down for our instruction. And so this applies to the book of Obadiah. So Obadiah was included in the Bible because the things that happened to Edom is an example for us to learn from, and it was written down and included in the scriptures so that we would read it, and learn from this example. So let's go through Obadiah briefly and look at some examples that we can learn from. This is verse 3. The pride of your heart deceived you. There's a verse in the Bible that says, pride cometh before fall. That's what happened to Edom. They were proud and then they fell. And so the story of Edom helps to illustrate for us that pride cometh before fall. Verse 4. Even if you are soaring as high as an eagle, and even if your nest is placed among the stars, from there I will send you down, declares Yahweh. In our culture, we buy insurance and we do financial planning, we plan for retirement, and all of that is designed to make sure that bad things don't happen to us. But what we learn from the book of Obadiah is that if Yahweh decides to punish someone, he will punish them, and there's nothing they can do to stop that. So that's a lesson that we need to learn from. I'm not saying insurance is bad, and I'm not saying we should not do financial planning, but we got to keep in mind that ultimately God is in control. Verse 6. How will Esau be searched? His hidden treasures will be grazed bare. This teaches us that God's punishment is very thorough. And if God decides to punish us, he might do it very thoroughly. Verse 10. Because of violence to your brother Jacob, shame smothers you, and you will be cut off forever. God promised that anyone who blesses Israel will be blessed, and anyone who curses Israel will be cursed. That is essentially what happened to Edom. Edom was punished because they did not help Jacob when Jacob needed it, and furthermore, Edom helped to plunder Jacob. And for that, they were punished, just as God had promised that anyone who curses Jacob will be cursed. And that is something that we should learn from as we think about current events in our world today and how various nations treat the nation of Israel. Verse 11. In the day you stood far off, and in the day strangers captured his wealth, and foreigners came to his gate and cast lots over Jerusalem, you also were as one of them. There's a verse in the Bible that says that he who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, to him it is sin. Edom is an example of that. One of the things that Edom did wrong is that they did nothing. They failed to help the Israelites, and that's an example that we should learn from. Verse 18. And a survivor will not exist in the house of Esau, because Yahweh declared it. As you look around the world today, the nation of Edom no longer exists. And it does not exist because Yahweh declared it. And so that's a lesson for all nations around the world today, that if Yahweh decides to eliminate a nation, he will do it, and there's nothing that anyone's going to do to stop him. So why is Obadiah in the Bible? Obadiah was originally written to declare punishment upon Edom, because Edom did not help the Israelites when they were plundered, and Edom participated and helped to plunder the Israelites. The Holy Spirit inspired the writing of the book of Obadiah because the events that happened to Edom are examples that we should learn from, and they were written and recorded in the book of Obadiah and included in the Bible for you and I to learn from. In future lessons, we will look more closely at the various lessons we should learn from Obadiah, the ones that I just referred to very briefly. Thanks again for visiting Bible Mountain. If you have already joined my email list, thank you, and please forward this to someone else who would benefit from visiting Bible Mountain. If you have not joined my email list yet, please do so now. My email list is free. This is the best way to make sure you receive all my content. In order to join, go to BibleMountain.com, click on email, and that will take you to a page where you can sign up. Your email address will not be sold nor given away. Once again, thank you for visiting Bible Mountain.